Crumpets Espresso. Crumpets Espresso.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Garlic Bread Warlord, Nick Alifi, and it is transfer deadline day. I'm sure you've heard that 6 times already, but it is what it is. And we're all paying attention to the wild and crazy closing of the official international transfer window. It's happening. I know after this, MLS picks back up. The leagues are already in full swing. So maybe a little bit, it's almost like after Christmas, right? Like when you have that lull and you're trying to figure out, all right, what do I do now? Well, shut up and show up to the games. That's it. Turn on the TV, watch the games, and see how these moves work out. One move that is not working out, and that's going to be Wigan left back and U.S. international Anthony Robinson. It's not happening. He's not going to AC Milan. He was going to be the second American international since Gichi to play for the Rossoneri. However, due to a lapse in some issue with the medical, they agreed to terms financially. When Robinson was going through the medical process, there was something that came up that the Italians said, hey, the deal can't be done. It won't be completed in time for the closing of the window. Now, this tells me there's more at foot than just some slight medical issue. This tells me that either Milan got cold feet or there was something with the terms that just didn't get closed. Very rarely do you see something like this where a medical issue pops up at the very last minute. Typically, stuff like this is ironed out, and teams have done their due diligence. Even if there is a medical issue under the table, the teams will communicate and say, hey, look, the player has a slight ankle issue picked up from this other incident from a week ago, 2 weeks ago, just so you guys know in advance. And the teams will say, yeah, sure, no problem, whatever. We'll get them through the medical, it'll be no problem. It gets turned into a photo op. This was not the case. Robinson showed up at Malpensa, did the whole walkthrough, did the medical test, then it falls apart. This is not the first time something like this has happened. Keep in mind that there was a move that between Lazio and Newcastle that fell apart at the last minute just because of a quote-unquote medical issue. Again, I believe personally that this means that somebody got cold feet. I'm willing to guess that Milan got cold feet on this deal and backed out. Something happened. Somebody stepped in. It's really unfortunate because it would have been a great move for Robinson, even if I don't think he's necessarily up to snuff to compete in Serie A. At the same time, it would have been great for his profile. It would have been great for U.S. men's soccer. And honestly, it probably would have exposed Milan to a larger market. So from all of that, I think that it would probably have been a great move. Unfortunately, these things happen. Otherwise, Emre Can, he's going to go to Borussia Dortmund. The rich get richer. It's going to be a loan to buy from Juve. So Juve is actually going to be making a little bit of money on this. The Hertha Berlin deal for Piatek is the one that really shocks me. He's going for far less than what all of us Serie A watchers have thought he would go for. We thought that Piatek would be going for $70 million. That was the idea. Later on, next year, maybe the year after, he was going to be an accomplished striker. Instead, he goes to Milan this year, and he just completely laid an egg. Yet again, the curse of the number 9 jersey. If you're not familiar with this, whoever wears the number 9 jersey at Milan just sucks. The minute you put it on, it's a wrap. Your career is done. So it's something where, please, Milan, just retire the stupid jersey, put it up, dedicate it to, I don't know, name some random fan. Congratulations, brace face, seat 12, section 204. We are retiring the number 9 jersey with your name on it. But instead, it is what it is. Now he is on his way to Hertha Berlin to play for one Mr. Jurgen Klinsmann. Really, this move is going to be something where it's honestly Piontek's last chance to become one of the big boys. It's something where if you're going to for all of Klinsmann's faults, I can't think of a better manager at this stage in his career with this kind of baggage to partner him with, to maybe open up his mind from a technical perspective. He has the physical attributes, but technically he was not doing the job. There were times when he looked absolutely lost in the attack, where he would drift one direction, the attack was going in the other, and it just went cold. Sometimes it happens. But another move that there was rumored to be happening with Serie A, Olivier Giroud was supposed to be going to Inter. And that's not going to happen now. So according to Chelsea, Olivier Giroud will be staying with the Blues. Inter is missing out on this one right here, but I think it's going to be okay in the end. It's good for Giroud. It's always nice to be wanted, and at the same time, it's something where for Inter, I don't want to cause, as nice as that depth would have been, at the same time, I'm not trying to cause drama in the locker room by bringing in an established scorer. Let's get through the season with what we have. I say we, I don't mean me. I'm just saying we as an Inter, they can get through and get themselves sorted. Meanwhile, looking at the Serie A table, it's still going to be Juve at 1, Inter at 2, but Lazio closing in, now within 2 points, sitting at number 3. Lazio, very dangerous. The winners of they've won 4 out of the last 5. They drew their last game against Roma. It's a derby. It is the derby. I have no problems with that draw. If they had won it outright, I'd be shocked. But Roma, their arch rivals, sitting at 4. Atalanta at 5. Cagliari at 6. Parma at 7, who is going to be looking at losing Gervinho. There's rumors that Gervinho would be departing Parma, which would be it'd be very tough for them to lose him. But sometimes these moves happen, and if that happens, if that comes to fruition, look at Milan at 8, tied with Parma at 31. They both won their last game. However, Milan is just rejuvenated. I don't know what Pioli's done. I don't know if somebody came through and gave cash bonuses out. I don't know what happened, but Milan looks completely rejuvenated, and this is something where if anybody who's losing players from 8 to 5, Milan stands to gain. So just keep an eye on Milan this weekend as far as the matchups go. They're going to be playing Verona, so that's a very winnable game for Milan. Just it's if they can pull this off. But meanwhile, Roma, they're playing Sassuolo. I think they're going to keep position. The game of the week, the garlic bread game of the week, is going to be Juve versus Fiorentina. That's going to be Sunday, early bird special, 6:30 a.m. Juve, we already know everything about Juve, but Fiorentina, they are stacking and stocking up on players. They have Cotrone, who's come out of the gates following his transfer. He has been just gangbusters. He's handling business. Obviously, you know about Chiesa. Their team, and they're picking out players that they're stashing, players who are injured, they're like, hey, look, 3 months from now, you're going to be very useful to us. So, yeah, we're going to keep you around. Look, Fiorentina is a team to keep an eye on. And I'm not saying that just because we have some listeners now in the Florence area. I'm just telling you the way that they're building this team. They're building a sustainable model. It's not going to be a flash in the pan. It's going to be something that will be supported heavily by Rocco Commisso. As a result, this game is taking on it's a bigger deal now. It's a little bit more weight to it because Fiorentina obviously wants to increase their place in the table. Yes, they are on the lower end in 13, but still, this is technically a derby game for Fiorentina. There's a tremendous rivalry between Juve and Fiorentina. Juve has a history of poaching the top players from Fiorentina, so there's absolutely no love lost between these two clubs. As a result of that, it's the garlic bread pick of the week. It's going to be the early bird special. Put it on demand. I'm just telling you, this is the one to watch. So with that, guys, I'm going to turn it back over to you. What is happening out in the rest of the world, especially over in England and who knows where else? South America. Just give me something. What about MLS? Jason, talk to me about MLS stuff. See, I'm making Jason's job difficult because when he edits this together, now he has to start. Oh, God, Nick said this. Now I've got to move it over there.
Does anyone know what's going on here?
That's what's happening, Jason. That's what's happening. Now you've got to move this around. Jason, tell me about MLS. I'm tossing it over to you. Mucho euro, y'all.
Denny's Grand Slam breakfast is...
It's not transfer deadline day in Major League Soccer, but there is still stuff happening out there in the world of MLS. And the transfer deadline day in Europe is having a bit of an effect on what's going on in MLS. Most recently, and this is right at the wire in Europe, the Kemar Lawrence deal leaving the New York Red Bulls, going to Anderlecht, $1.2 million, is done. It is official. The Red Bulls have announced it on their end. There were some incoming deals as well. The Philadelphia Union have added center back Jakob Glesnes, Norwegian defender, on a TAM deal. It's going to be some competition for Mark McKenzie, who could be missing some time with Olympic qualifying and potentially Olympics, and honestly, potentially the U.S. men's national team at some point this season. The Seattle Sounders added Brazilian playmaker João Paulo as a designated player. He is an interesting signing for a team that's got Nico Ladero. I want to see how those two end up combining. To do this, they bought down Xavier Arriaga's budget charge with TAM. He was in a designated player slot, but it was one that could be bought down, so they did that. João Paulo is most recently with Botafogo, 36 appearances with the club last season in league play. I think in all competitions it ended up being closer to 50 because of the Brazilian league structure with state leagues and national leagues and cups and international play in the Copa Libertadores. He was a busy man. So, 28 years old, he is coming in to not replace Nico Ladero. I want to see if João Paulo maybe plays in a little bit deeper role. Does Nico Ladero maybe play out wide? Brian Schmetzer is going to have some different pieces to work with this season. One of the more surprising moves that came out today is Vito Mannone, goalkeeper of the year in Major League Soccer last season, had an offer on the table from Minnesota to be the highest paid goalkeeper in Major League Soccer going forward, and he turned it down. Well, Reading didn't have a place for him, so he goes out on loan again for the next 6 months, and he's going to a club in Denmark, currently second from the bottom in Denmark, Esbjerg. That's different. Maybe overplayed his hand a little bit. Maybe he just wants to let these 6 months on his deal run out and then be free to go wherever he wants to go. And he's talked about going back to Italy at some point. So, strange move, unexpected move. Don't know what the folks in Minnesota think about that one. Granada in La Liga made an attempt to buy Mauro Manotas. Don't know what numbers were being offered, but it was denied by the Houston Dynamo. So what happens with Manotas? There were also reportedly some interest from Anderlecht for Albert Ellis, and don't know if that actually got to the offer stage, but haven't heard anything specifically on details there. There was a lot of thought that Houston might lose one or both of Manotas and Ellis, and if they're going to stay, are they motivated to stay? Is Tab Ramos got two players who want to leave and are ready to leave and aren't really interested in what's going on with the Dynamo this season, or does he have two players who are motivated to get that future move? I'll have to wait and see. Portland Timbers got their deal done with Pumas in Mexico, bringing in on loan Felipe Mora. Is a TAM deal. He's 26 years old, 19 goals, 3 assists over 65 appearances with Pumas. He will be part of this new attacking group with the Timbers. Want to see what this means for Jeremy Abobasi. Young American, kind of in the same situation as Mark McKenzie. Could be part of the U.S. Olympic team, Olympic qualifying coming up soon. Also the potential trip to the Olympics. Is this extra cover? Is it going to push Abobasi maybe out into a wide position? What does Portland do in managing the minutes this season for two outstanding players, but aging players in Diego Valeri and Sebastian Blanco. This one was a little bit of a surprise when the rumors came up over the weekend. Deal gets finalized today. Inter Miami's been a team that a lot of people have been looking at. They got Will Trapp in on a trade from Columbus, which caught everybody by surprise. They did make a deal that had been talked about for a while and had been expected for a while. Lewis Morgan coming over from Celtic. That's finalized. 23 years old, 31 appearances over the last 2 years. Only 5 league appearances this year. Spent some time on loan with Sunderland as well, where he had a goal and 4 assists. So, Morgan's in. Trapp is in. No Cavani. That's not happening. Rodolfo Pizarro, there is talk that things are moving on this one, and it's not the wild $19+ million offer, according to Paul Tenorio. The offer is more in the $10 million range. Pizarro would be a great addition. Not quite the big name that maybe was expected by a lot of people, and that's, Inter Miami didn't run away from that either. They kind of helped feed that. I think he'd be a great fit, and it would help that team be a quality team on the field, and that would leave a designated player spot if they want to use in the summer. There's also some chatter that Diego Alonso, in addition to former player Pizarro, could be looking at Dorlan Pabon, and Rogelio Funes Mori has been mentioned as well. So could it be a Monterrey reunion in Miami? Very, very intriguing. Lots of other stuff going on around Europe. Let's hear a little bit more about what's happening over there from our friend Jarrett Smith.
Doing that traditional Scottish favourite, haggis.
What a lovely time of year. The frost is thawing out. The haggis is too. The Amber is going to be cold. Just set it outside. It'll be nice and chilly. And we're going to get away from the nice, scenic, wonderful, timid, and comfortable weather of England and, Italy and Spain, South America. Let's go up to Scotland, take a look at what's going on up in the Highlands. Back off winter break. We'll see what that gets us as we take a look at what's been going on. And my goodness, oh, bless your heart, Rangers. Glasgow Rangers, who were in the catbird seat after defeating Celtic, went and lost to Hearts of Midlothian. Thanks, Hearts, by the way, for Mulroney over at Atlanta United. Now, he gets out of Land of the Jammed Hearts, where it's not a good season. They're probably going to be relegated. They're sitting there 1 point behind Hamilton Academical to get the relegation seat down out of the SPFL. So Rangers now sit 5 points back. 6 points back of Celtic. But Celtic have a game. Rangers have a game in hand. Thing is, now things were looking great, and now they're really just not if you're Rangers. And then Jermaine Defoe goes down with an injury. Defoe kind of pulling that Scott Sinclair thing in my view of it, where he's gone up to Scotland to kind of revitalize things, and just a rough injury for a guy who is, by all accounts, recognized as a pretty good guy. And you hate it for Rangers, honestly, and not even being petty at this point, but you hate it for Rangers that, they're trying to come back after that weird loss against Hearts, and then they get a win against Ross County, and now it just kind of is the gut punch there of you lose another guy, and the transfer window is closing. It looks like Morelos isn't going anywhere. Not that you ever really expected him to, although I kind of think they should be entertaining offers the same way Celtic should be entertaining offers for Olsen Edouard, where you might be getting the kind of offer that's too good to refuse. But we'll see if that comes in the summer window for both of those guys. Meanwhile, Celtic kept rolling along. They beat St. Johnston 3-0, had 3 goals in the first 30 minutes, and then just kind of put it in cruise control, rode down the hill the rest of the way, and made St. Johnston basically chase them from behind. Now, as far as the transfer window, we're not going to get too deep into it. Just know that you've got guys coming in and out, a lot of guys moving within the league. You see this a lot with some of the smaller clubs will sometimes move guys to the bigger clubs, the Giants of Celtic and Rangers, but it's a two-way street. You'll see guys getting loaned out from the Giants to the smaller clubs where they will go and cut their teeth. Now, as far as moving out of Scotland, we do have a move on the way out of Scotland where, you had Miami FC getting involved in this. So that's, Inter Miami FC. Don't want to get stabbed. We know about the Will Trapp thing for them, but they also made a move pulling Lewis Morgan in from Celtic. So a big move there from a guy like Morgan, who's has had chances to really make an impact on the team at Celtic. He had some really impressive times and played with just ice in his blood at times during Europa League, but just hasn't stuck. Now he's on the way to Miami. He'll go apply his trade in MLS, and Atlanta will get to see him as they are in the East. So Atlanta will get a fresh look at what he can bring as the Scottish invasion does continue. You got Gary McKay-Steven up there in New York, who came over last year. I'm going to count Mulroney, even though he is from Dublin, Ireland, just because he was at heart, so he does get the honorary Scottish invasion patch of approval. As far as the table goes, Celtic sitting there, 23 games played, sitting on 61 points, whereas Rangers sitting there with 22 games played at 56 points. Aberdeen now has dropped to fourth. For those in the Atlanta area who do still have the interest in Aberdeen, it's getting kind of dark for them if they're trying to get third. Motherwell has put a bit of space between that 4-point gap there. Everything south of that doesn't really matter in Scotland. It's Livingston, Hibernian, Kilmarnock, St. Johnston, Ross County, St. Mirren, Hamilton, and of course the Jam Tarts that we know and love. Hearts of Midlothian bringing up the bottom, but just go ahead and just put a wrench into the title chase that is going to go on in Scotland. It's something you expect, isn't it? The team that's an absolute mess, they're going to get relegated most likely unless something really weird happens. You can just pretty much pencil them in as taking a wrench and throwing it into the grandfather clock that is the title chase at the top of the table. But that's where we're at. Rangers continue to chase Celtic. Next week, or next time we take a trip up north to crack open an Iron Brew, we'll assess the damage of the transfer window. We'll assess the damage of injuries, of Neil Lennon telling one of his players to F off, which was amazing. You have Mikey Johnston. We'll just go ahead and hit that now, actually, because I don't even know if I can hold off on that one. Mikey Johnston goes down injured in 75th minute or so. The Celtics about to use their last sub, and Johnston gets up and says, "I'm fine. I can keep going. You're good." They're up 3-0, so it's not like it's a pressure situation. But Celtic goes, "Yeah, okay, cool. Well, we're going to use this sub on the other guy and get one of our new guys in here so he can, kind of stretch his legs out." That's great. By the way, like 3 minutes later, "Yeah, I can't go anymore." So Johnston takes himself off because he can't go on after saying he could. And a couple of nice little parting words from a incredibly bundled up Neil Lennon, who looks kind of like a drowned cat, as he's sitting on the bench and telling his own player to F off back to the dressing room out of anger about if you can't go on, don't tell me you can go on. So we'll take stock of everything that happens. League's back underway. The permafrost may not have necessarily thawed on the Highlands, but it's thawed enough that they're playing. Jason, John, Jessica, Nick, even. Yeah, you too, Nick. Back to y'all.
Crumpet.
Now, with the transfer window closed, let's kind of take a rapid-fire view of what in the wide world of sports went on. Manchester United, they were looking for a striker and a midfielder. Bruno Fernandes is in at around £70 million. Odion Ighalo got a new lease on life, a 6-month loan from Shanghai Shenhua with an option to buy, I think it's 2.5 years on the table. That is the big news for Manchester United, and a lot of folks are saying that somebody's going to be pinching themselves, and it might be Odion Ighalo. Just a reminder, Premier League clubs can complete from 9 to 11, but it has to be signed by the player to prove an agreement. It gives the clubs until 2 hours after the fact, after the close of the window, so until, say, 8 o'clock Eastern time to get everything done. FIFA paperwork has to be uploaded an hour after the deadline closes for international transfers and loans. So that's your look at Manchester United and the ground rules of everything. Here's the greatest hits. Aston Villa gets Borja Baston, the guy that they were chasing after for the entire window. Brighton gets the loan on Tariq Lampton from Chelsea to be a permanent. Leicester, Brendan Rodgers was looking for cover at center back. He got it at Ryan Bennett. It's a loan for the rest of the season, but there is an option to buy at the end of the term. £5 million is the number. Wolves get Luke Matheson from Rochdale for £1 million, but it's like a loan out and then a loan back for the 18-year-old. He got his driver's certificate, so that was a part of the deal as well. So he was loaned to Rochdale, then brought back. Luke Matheson might even feature this weekend for Wolves. A lot of promise for Luke Matheson coming from Rochdale to Wolves. Sheffield United had a couple of loans. A lot of folks were looking at their loan business as quality work. Nothing going on at Chelsea. No Dries Mertens, so that means Olivier Giroud stays. Ced Suarez to Arsenal. That was their biggest news on the day. Burnley got Josh Brownhill from Bristol City. West Ham got Jared Bound from Hull. And also a couple of other pieces of business. Manchester City loaned out Angelino to Red Bull Leipzig, and they picked him up for £5.3 million. There's an option to buy for RB Leipzig at the end of the loan for 25, so it could be a good piece of business for Manchester City if they like what Angelino does. Probably the biggest piece of news, if you take Manchester United, Aston Villa, Brighton, Leicester, Wolves, Sheffield, Burnley, Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and West Ham out of the rotation, is what didn't happen, and that was at Bournemouth. Bournemouth had a £20 million offer for Josh King on the table. He wanted to go to Manchester United, having been a fan of them growing up. That was on the table, but the bid was rejected, so Bournemouth is going to have their relegation fight with all of their firepower still in place. That's your transfer deadline day look at the deal sheet. So it was kind of busy, but more loans than actual purchases. That's the run from England. Happy weekend.
Let's head down to Argentina to check in on the Superliga, which is always nuts. It was nuts yesterday with Vélez, who is in third place in the table, drawing 1-1 with Aldosivi, who's in 19th place in the table and trying not to get relegated. Welcome to Argentina. You get these crazy matchups. You get these crazy results where it just feels like nobody wants to run away with the league title. Right now it's River Plate who's got a little bit of a lead, 3-point lead on Boca and Vélez, who could have pulled even. They do not, or could have pulled 1 point behind. They do not. Argentinos Juniors is also 3 points back. So 1 through 4 separated by 3 points. Rosario Central and Lanús on 29. Arsenal on 28 points. Racing and San Lorenzo on 27. Newell's and Atletico Tucumán on 26. That takes you down to 11th place, 7 points back. Running out of games to affect this league title. 6 games left for most in week 18 of the season right now. Tonight, all eyes will be on Gimnasia as they head to Huracan to face a team that's actually lower than them in the overall table right now. Gimnasia is ahead of Huracan on goal differential at the moment, both on 15 points in the season. When you look at the Promedios table, the relegation table, it's done over an average of the last 3 seasons. Gimnasia is still on the bottom and looking at heading down to the second division next year unless they start to win more matches, and more importantly, some of the teams ahead of them start to drop points. Aldosivi getting a point in their match with Vélez is bad for Diego Maradona and Gimnasia. Aldosivi right now is still in a relegation spot, but they are trying to claw their way out of it. They're on hundredths of a point behind Colón, trying to get out of the relegation dungeon at this point. Central Córdoba is the team to keep an eye on because this is their first season out of the last 3 in the Superliga. They have earned 21 points through 17 matches. Because everybody else, with the exception of Aldosivi, has been in the league for the last 3 years, one match might not affect them as much. For Central Córdoba, they've moved up with some good results as of late. They're in 18th in the Promedios table, but they could fall backwards very fast. And remember, 6 games left in the Superliga, but the 11 games in the Copa de la Superliga, the cup, which is almost like a mini league because they're splitting the Superliga in 2, and you're playing 11 games in a cup competition. Welcome to Argentina. Those games count in the relegation table. They count to see who goes to the Copa Libertadores and who goes to the Copa Sudamericana. Welcome to chaos. That's what Argentina does best. Okay, your matches this weekend. You can watch all of these on Fanatis. Highly recommended service to keep up with what's going on in Argentina, to get BN Sports, to keep up with what's going on Goal TV, who's on the service as well, to keep up with what's going on in the Colombian First Division as well. That has just gotten underway. All kinds of great action on Fanatis. Highly, highly, highly recommended. If you want to get Fanatis, shoot us a message. Let us know. A bunch of us have it. We can send you a promo code and maybe save you a little bit of money while we're up to doing this. All right. You want to watch some Fanatis? You want to watch some Superliga? Here's what you're watching. Tonight, as I said, Gimnasia heading to Huracan. Saturday, Independiente hosts Rosario Central. Estudiantes, which now has Marcos Rojo on loan from Manchester United, and Javier Mascherano, they are hosting Unión. Atlético Tucumán hosts Hernán Crespo y Defensa y Justicia, who had a huge win last week and is trying to get into a Sudamericana spot. Defensa will be participating in their first Copa Libertadores here coming up in a couple of months. Argentinos Juniors and Racing round out the Saturday schedule. That's a big game between 4th and 8th place in the table. Sunday, the early game, River and Central Córdoba. So that's one that you're looking at if you are rooting for Diego Maradona's Gimnasia or any of the other teams that are trying not to get relegated. River defeating Central Córdoba, and they should. They are in first place in the table. This is at El Monumental. That would have a big effect on that Promedios table. Lanús hosting Godoy Cruz. Colón, who's another team to watch in that Promedios table, they are hosting Banfield. Tajeres is hosting Boca Juniors. Boca maybe starting to feel the pressure a little bit as River trying to separate a bit here. And then on Monday, the last two games of the round, Patronato is hosting Arsenal and Newell's hosting San Lorenzo.
Crumpet.
We'll start off with the early game on Saturday. 8 matches on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Early game, Leicester and Chelsea looking at the table, and this is the, right now, battle of 3 and 4, although there is an 8-point gap between the two, with Chelsea in 4th right now at 40 points, Leicester City 3 points behind Manchester City at 51. Leicester has won 3 and lost 3 in their last 6, and Chelsea is 2-2-2. And the juice box purveyors are looking at pretty much a draw here. Leicester at plus 150, Chelsea at plus 170 outright. Now, the 10 o'clock window, a lot of action going on here. Relegation 6-pointer, Bournemouth and Aston Villa. How big is this one? You're looking at Bournemouth right now in the relegation zone on goal difference. 1 goal behind West Ham, minus 14 to minus 13. Both teams at 23 points. Villa is at 25 points. Bournemouth stopped a 4-game losing streak last time out with a big win to move them up into 18th. And how tight is the relegation fight right now? West Ham, minus 13 at 23 points in goal difference. Bournemouth, minus 14 at 23 points. Watford, who lost their first match under Nigel Pearson last time out, minus 15 at 23 points. Brighton and Aston Villa, 15 and 16, both at 25. Obviously, goal difference is separating them. So you're looking at really 5 teams right now in those 2 relegation spots, only 2 points separating everybody. Juicebox purveyors are saying Bournemouth at plus 110, Aston Villa at plus 230. Also on the board in the table, you're looking at Crystal Palace, Sheffield United. Crystal Palace plus 200, Sheffield United plus 150, and Crystal Palace right now in that gaggle of folks at 30 points from 10th to 14th, separated by 10 goals in goal difference. Crystal Palace in at 11th. Great season so far for the Blade. Sheffield United at 33 points, although they only have 1 point in their last 2 matches. Sheffield United is in 8th. Also on the board, Liverpool and Southampton. Liverpool prohibitive favorite, minus 400 going up against Southampton. There will be some folks who will not be dressed for this particular match, considering that Liverpool played midweek against West Ham. Newcastle and Norwich. Newcastle in the table as you're looking at it right now. They're 14th at the bottom of all of that goal difference stuff that's going on at 30 points. And at Norwich, bottom of the table. But remember, they won one of their last two, so they're a little closer. The gap is 6 points from safety for Norwich. Also on the board, it is Watford and Everton. And right now, Watford, 19th, 23 points. They're in that gaggle of folks right there. And with Everton is a part of that group at 30. So that's what you're staring at with them. Newcastle and Norwich. Newcastle, plus 125, Norwich plus 220. Watford plus 175, Everton plus 162. You're looking at a lot of draws, really, this weekend. West Ham and Brighton is no different. And you're looking at West Ham right now in their fight. Brighton just above them at 25 points. So a lot of folks, the juice box purveyors anyway, looking at a bunch of draws. The late game on Saturday, Manchester United and Wolves. Manchester United plus 115, Wolves at plus 250 right now in the table. You're looking at Manchester United in fifth at 34 points, but they've lost two in a row. So that's the peak there. Wolves, 34 points behind them on 4 goals in goal difference. Wolves lost their last time out, 1-1 and 1 in their last 3, but they've lost 3 of their last 5. So interesting to see what will happen there. 2 matches on Sunday. It is Burnley and Arsenal. Arsenal minus 106 against Burnley at plus 275. Manchester City minus 188 going up against Tottenham. We mentioned Arsenal in that gaggle at 30 points. Burnley also in the gaggle at 30, but they are way behind Arsenal in goal difference. 3 behind Everton right now. Burnley is in 13th. Spurs in 6th at 34 points, a goal behind Manchester United. And Manchester City, obviously, right now, number 2 in the table at 51 points. And they are 19 points behind Liverpool right now. Liverpool, 41 matches unbeaten in the Premier League, only 8 away from tying the record of the Arsenal group of Arsene Wenger. I want to say that record was 49, so that's where that is with this weekend, plus checking out your juice boxes. Let's take a peek and see what's going on in the championship on the weekend. You're looking at a couple of favorites. Fulham minus 150 against Huddersfield. Brentford minus 106 against Hull. Leeds, prohibitive favorite against Wigan at minus 275. And I'm just going to sit there and say, hey, Anthony Robinson and the transfer saga with him going to Wigan, but not. $10 million was the price tag that was agreed to. But then when they figured out it was going to be another 72 hours to get all the tests figured out, was wiped off the board. So Anthony Robinson ends up heading back to Wigan as Wigan is in their relegation fight. Preston North End even money against Swansea at plus 100, and a couple of slight favorites. QPR at plus 110, Sheffield Wednesday at plus 120, West Brom minus 300 as the late game on Saturday, going up against Luton Town, minus 300 to plus 800. So that's your peek at the championship. Let's take a peek at League One, see if there's any big favorites there. Accrington Stanley at minus 134 against the Dons, or against AFC Wimbledon, the Wombles. And let's see, going down, Coventry minus 106. And Oxford United 106 as minus 106 as well against Blackpool. And minus 110 Rotherham against Burton Albion. Checking League 2 quickly, and we'll see what's going on there. It is Cheltenham at minus 138 going up against Morecambe. Mansfield Town minus 118 against Carlisle. Plymouth minus 110. The Argyle against Newport County. Everything else is lining up as draws. So that's your peek at the juice boxes and a couple of the matchups in the Premier League.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be...
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.